Good evening. I am Clara Nightwell, and tonight I am here with Rowan Hartsteele. Some people change history by writing books, others change it by building empires.
And some change it without leaving anything behind at all.
No texts, no doctrine, no monuments.
Only conversations. Osteart and traps.
Tonight, we are talking about a man who believed that the greatest danger was not ignorance, but the illusion of knowledge.
A man who insisted that an unexamined life was not worth living.
He asked questions not to teach answers, but to expose contradictions.
And in doing so, he unsettled politicians, judges, teachers, and friends.
His name was Socrates.
And his ideas survived him precisely because they were never written down.
Rowan, let us begin in Athens, at a time when democracy believed it understood itself.
Socrates was born in Athens around 470 years before the Common Era.
At the height of its confidence.
Athens saw itself as the center of reason, democracy, and culture. A city convinced it understood justice, virtue, and truth.
Certainty was part of daily life.
Socrates grew up among craftsmen and citizens, not aristocrats. His father was a sculptor, his mother a midwife.
That detail often returns later.
He would later describe his own work as a kind of midwifery, helping ideas be born, not supplying them.
Ideas discovered, not delivered.
He lived simply, dressed plainly, and showed little interest in wealth or political office.
Unusual in a city obsessed with reputation.
Athens was also changing. War, internal conflict, and political instability were eroding its confidence.
Certainty beginning to crack.
Socrates did not offer solutions. He offered questions,
which can feel more threatening than answers.
He believed that claiming to know without examination was a moral failure.
Not ignorance, but false certainty.
From the beginning, his life unfolded not as a career, but as a disturbance. Socrates did not teach by lecturing. He taught by questioning.
Questions as a tool, not as decoration.
He would ask simple questions patiently until the answers began to contradict each other,
letting certainty collapse on its own.
This became known as the Socratic method. Not a technique to win arguments, but a way to reveal ignorance.
Including his own.
Yes. Socrates did not present himself as wise. He claimed to know that he did not know.
Which sounds modest, but is deeply unsettling.
Because it exposes everyone else who claims certainty.
Especially those in positions of authority.
Socrates believed that an unexamined life was not worth living.
Examination as a moral duty.
For him, virtue was not obedience to tradition, but understanding why one acts.
Action without reflection was dangerous.
He rejected the idea that morality could be inherited or memorized.
It had to be examined each time.
This made him incompatible with a city that relied on shared assumptions to function.
Because questioning everything slows things down.
And Socrates was not interested in speed. He was interested in truth. As Socrates became more visible, comparison was inevitable.
Comparison with the sophists.
The sophists were professional teachers. They charged fees. They taught rhetoric, persuasion, and success in public life.
Skills that worked well in a democracy.
Yes, they taught how to win arguments, not how to examine truth.
And Socrates rejected that entirely.
He refused payment. He refused to promise results. He refused to simplify.
Which made him harder to place.
Publicly, the distinction blurred. To many citizens, Socrates looked like a sophist who denied being one.
That misunderstanding carried consequences.
He questioned generals about courage, politicians about justice, and judges about loyalty.
In public.
Often leaving them unable to defend their own claims.
Humiliation disguised as dialogue.
Not intentional, but unavoidable. The method exposed contradiction wherever it appeared.
And authority does not like exposure.
Over time, Socrates gained followers and enemies in equal measure.
Admiration and resentment growing together.
What began as conversation slowly became disturbance.
And disturbance attracts attention.
Especially in a city already anxious about its own stability. Socrates never founded a school. He left no institution behind.
And yet, he is everywhere afterward.
Because his influence survived through people, not structures.
Through memory and dialogue.
Several of his students carried his voice forward, each in a different direction.
Which already complicates the story.
Plato preserved Socrates as a questioner. but also transformed him into a philosophical guide.
A Socrates shaped by Plato's concerns.
Xenophon offered a more practical and moral version, less abstract, more instructive.
A calmer figure.
Others, like Antisthenes, emphasized austerity and rejection of convention.
Planting the seeds of later movements.
What survives, then, is not a single doctrine, but a method and an attitude.
Questioning as inheritance.
Each student preserved a different Socrates. No,
Which makes the original harder to locate.
perhaps intentionally. His ideas were never meant to be fixed.
Only practiced.
In the year 399 before the Common Era, Socrates was brought to trial,
Not for a single act.
but for the cumulative effect of a life spent questioning.
The city had grown tired of being examined.
The charges were impiety and corruption of the youth.
Vague, but effective.
At the trial, Socrates did not appeal to emotion. He did not beg. He did not flatter the jury.
Which was unexpected.
He argued that he had served the city by exposing false wisdom.
Turning accusation into duty.
When given the chance to propose an alternative punishment, he refused exile.
Exile would have meant silence.
He chose to remain consistent with his life, even if it meant death.
Consistency is the final argument.
The jury condemned him. The sentence was death by hemlock.
A legal execution.
In his final hours, he continued to speak calmly with his students.
As if nothing had changed.
He drank the poison without resistance.
A life examined to its last moment.
Socrates did, but his story did not settle into a monument.
Because even his ending refuses simplicity.
There is no confirmed grave, no site we can point to with certainty and say this is where he rests.
So the place of the body was lost.
Yes, Athens changed, centuries passed, and the physical trace disappeared.
But what survived was not a location.
It was a method, a posture toward life.
A refusal to accept inherited certainty.
Socrates believed that to live well, one had to examine what one claimed to value.
Not in theory, but in practice.
He treated virtue as something that must be understood, not inherited.
Which makes virtue intellectual, but also unforgiving.
He also treated ignorance as dangerous when it is hidden beneath confidence.
The illusion of knowledge.
That idea outlived Athens. It outlived empires. It survived because it cannot be completed.
Because the moment you think you are finished, you stop examining.
And that was his warning. Not that people are ignorant, but that they defend their ignorance with pride.
Pride as armor.
Socrates left no writings. That absence is part of the legacy.
Because it forces dependence on witnesses.
Plato, Xenophon, and others. Each gave us a Socrates that fits their own concerns.
So even the memories contested.
Yes, we inherit not a single man, but a set of portraits.
And we still call the collection one name.
Perhaps because the name represents a role rather than a biography. The
person who asks the question everyone avoids.
The person who slows down certainty, who makes slogans feel thin, who forces definitions to do their work.
A kind of civic disturbance.
And that is why the city killed him. Not because he carried weapons, but because he disrupted the comfort of shared assumptions.
Because comfort can be political.
If there is a final lesson, it is not that Socrates was right about everything,
but that he refused to live without asking.
And the questions remain because they are not his property.
They belong to whoever is willing to be unsettled by them. Before we close tonight, let us take a small pause and welcome Margaret. Margaret, for those who want to continue thinking about Socrates without turning it into doctrine, where would you invite them to go?
Thank you, Clara. Socrates is one of those figures who becomes clearer when approached carefully. A very accessible place to begin is Socrates, a very short introduction by Catherine Atherton.
So it is not about memorizing ideas.
Not at all. It focuses on the method, the historical context, and why Socrates was unsettling to his own city.
That feels aligned with what we explored tonight.
Some thinkers are better understood when they remain open questions rather than closed answers.
Thank you, Margaret. That was a thoughtful place to pause.
Thank you, Clara. It was a pleasure.
When the trial ended, Athens returned to its routines.
Cities are very good at continuing.
The execution of Socrates did not collapse the democracy. Life moved on.
Which may be the most unsettling part.
The disturbance was removed. The questions were not.
Questions tend to linger longer than answers.
Socrates believed that thinking was not a private activity. It was a civic responsibility.
Because shared life depends on shared understanding.
When people stop examining what they claim to value, power fills the silence.
Often quietly.
The method Socrates practiced offers no comfort. It removes certainty without replacing it.
Which can feel like loss.
But it may also be a form of honesty, an admission that understanding is always incomplete.
Incomplete, but necessary.
Socrates did not teach people what to think. He challenged them to notice when they were no longer thinking at all.
Habit can easily replace reflection.
Especially when habits are rewarded.
Comfort has its own authority.
Socrates was not executed for a single belief, but for a way of living that refused to settle.
A life that kept reopening questions others weren't closed.
His death did not end that life. It transformed it into an example.
Not an example to imitate easily.
But one that remains difficult to ignore. A reminder that thinking has consequences.
And that silence can also be a choice.
Socrates left no instructions for the future. Only a warning hidden inside a question.
What do we believe without ever examining?
And what do we protect by pretending not to notice?
Those questions do not belong to ancient Athens.
They belong to anyone who lives among others.
Which means they still belong to us. Thank you for staying with us tonight. And thank you, Rowan, for guiding us through a life built on questions rather than answers.
Thank you, Clara. Some lives continue because they never allow themselves to be settled.
If this conversation stayed with you, you are welcome to like, comment, and subscribe. You will find other episodes here where history, ideas, and power are approached slowly. Until next time, stay with us.